This is Portside Perspectives, exploring the yacht economy.
All right, hello everyone, and thanks for joining us again. I'm sitting here today with Todd Tisoskey. Did I pronounce that right?
That's correct, yes.
Close enough, at least, anyways.
Yeah.
And Todd's a broker with Not 10 Yacht Sales. Has been in the sale of yachts for a couple of years now, correct?
Yes, about just over 2 years.
Awesome. And, I've talked to a lot of different people. It's nice to chat with somebody who's a little bit younger, newer into the industry, maybe see some things from a different perspective compared to somebody who's been in it for 25 years, whatever that means. But we can get into that. So why don't you start off by telling me a little bit about yourself, where you're located with Not 10 and how you got into this in the first place, how you even got to where you are now.
Sure. So I'm based in New Jersey, and I kind of take listings all throughout PA, New Jersey, New York, Long Island, Connecticut. So I'm not really based out of, I'm not restricted to just New Jersey. So I kind of travel around. But, to make a long story short, I kind of been boating like a lot of the brokers my whole life. I have like pictures of myself when I was like 2 weeks old, sleeping on the boat that we had at the time. It was a late 1990s Phoenix 29 down in Cape May. And, from there on, we kind of kept buying and selling boats, in which each boat we kind of moved locations. So the Phoenix was in Cape May, then we kind of bounced up to Shark River and then Manasquan, and then up to Sandy Hook in the Atlantic Highlands area where we're at now. And that's probably familiar to a lot of like New Jersey or East Coast guys, but maybe not for you. But each boat that we got, we had a vision of what it wanted to be. So they're like quote unquote fixer uppers. So from the time I was like 10, I was already like ripping into diesel engines and doing fiberglass work and marine electronics and rewiring sailboats and all. So I kind of have a lot of knowledge. And at that time when we got on the sailboats, I was probably in ninth grade. So I want to say about 15 years old. And I was thinking about what I wanted to do after college, or if I wanted to go to college. And I didn't really have a set plan. So I decided to just take the step and go to college to see where that kind of took me. So I got into Penn State University, and I decided to start studying finance. And then I ultimately switched to corporate innovation and entrepreneurship just because I liked the whole innovation side of everything. Ended up loving that. So I graduated from Penn State, and I decided that I didn't want to go to the corporate route. So I have like experience, a lot of my family has been in sales. So I decided to give a poke at being a yacht broker while I was still young, because it's something that always intrigued me, just because I had so much experience just on so many different boats and had knowledge on, a ton of different systems. So I thought I'd be pretty good at it as long as I can learn the system of it, which I was pretty confident I would. So I decided to just reach out to a broker that we actually bought one of our boats from, and they gave me a shot. And after about a year with them, I discovered Not 10, which, I reached out to them. I wanted to join them just because with the innovation part of my degree, I saw what they were doing, kind of disrupting the whole yacht brokerage market, which really intrigued me. So I decided that I wanted to be with somebody that was like really forward thinking and kind of just taking the whole market by surprise and kind of shaking things up, just because, I think the whole industry has been kind of in their ways for, decades at this point. And it's something that they don't want to hear, but they have to hear, just because I think, and we can get into this a little bit more.
I was just about to ask that. Can you kind of elaborate on what it is you're actually talking about specifically when you say that they're shaking up the industry? What do you mean by that?
So for as long as like I can like go back and read about, the standard commission structure is always that the broker would take 10% of the sale price. So, and then for co-broker agreement, it'd be split 5 and 5 between both brokers. And the owner of Not 10, Mark, actually saw kind of an opportunity that, realtors were doing work for 6%. So why not go in and charge 7% listing commission for in-house sales? And then when it was a co-broker agreement, it would raise 9%. So we were still able to pay the industry standard 5% to the co-broker. And that kind of allows us to get into the market for a lower commission structure, and also not losing out to any work because we're still paying that industry standard 5%.
So do you find that brings in more people trying to sell their boats? Then that's an incentive for them. Is that something you're seeing?
Yeah, for sure. And another part is that we only have a 60-day listing agreement. So it kind of gives a lot of the people I've been talking to, it's really less risk, because in 90 days, if their boat doesn't sell for the price that they want, then, just take it off the market and there's just no risk to them. You don't pay anything unless the boat sells. And it also gives an opportunity for people with lower cost boats to kind of get onto the Yacht World platforms with a broker without having to pay that full 10% commission. And the other thing that we kind of found is that even when you were charging to 10% commission, you were kind of sometimes negotiating away that 10% to kind of get to that 8% to kind of make a cushion between that the buyers ask. And so
it was kind of happening anyways, just through negotiation.
Right.
And then
Exactly.
you just kind of made it standard then.
Exactly. Yep. So that's kind of long and short of it without getting into too many, details about that.
Well, I mean, that's what we're here for, is to kind of talk about things like this, just different things that different brokerages are doing and different things within the yacht and marine space in general. We're talking to not just brokers, but people who are running websites that are servicing this industry, service and maintenance companies that cater to the yacht industry as well, crewing and manning companies, basically anybody and everybody. So, I mean, we're here to talk about what you're doing and what you see in the industry. So, I mean, it's interesting to know that your company or Not 10 is doing things a little bit different, just to kind of, like you said, shake it up. What do you guys or what do you primarily focus on as far as your marketing strategy and any tools that you're utilizing right now?
So Facebook advertisements have been a huge, way that we've been getting a lot of our leads. So
would you say that's the majority of your leads is through Facebook?
So, I mean, each broker has a different strategy because we're kind of not relying on the brokerage house to give us leads. So I would say one of the biggest ones for a lot of the experienced brokers is just repeat customers or just a huge network that you get.
Sure.
A lot of the guys are coming from just different trades, marine electricians, or maybe you ran a marina or it was a dockhand or something. So they
someone
have
younger though, like yourself, coming in without all those built up connections and the Rolodex of clients. You have to go find your own. So you're finding that Facebook is working for you then?
Yeah. So a lot of the boaters are that older generation, and which isn't really on the TikToks and the Instagrams. So they kind of gather towards Facebook, and something that Facebook does really well is they have the Facebook groups. So you could kind of find a niche and then a niche within the niche within that group.
Yeah.
So we're finding like sailboats for sale 30 to 45 feet, or you could do trawlers for sale within this price range, or for sale by owners, or so you can kind of break it down in that direction. And you could also, just like I said, the Facebook advertisements is just make like a picture and then pay Facebook to kind of do the target audience that they see. So I'm getting a lot of, when I first got started about 2 years ago, that's how I got, most of my listings. I have a network from just being around so many marinas, but it's one of them things where you think your network is big until you kind of reach out to them and you're like, well, this isn't going to work very long term. So, but as you get into, more and more listings, it's now you're introducing yourself to marinas. So then you're getting good rapport with the marina owner or, the whoever's running the yard. So they kind of refer listings to you, and then people see your sign. So it kind of snowballs in that direction. But when you're first getting started, social media was kind of the biggest way that I was getting my name out there.
100%. And I fully understand it. Are you utilizing any paid advertising, like paid ads within Facebook or on Google or anything like that at all? Or
it was all paid ads on Facebook, just because I found by the time I tried to put myself out with the groups, and the moderators would kind of kick you out, rightfully so, because people are there to consume and get ideas and talk to other like-minded people. So when somebody interjects himself as an advertisement, you're kind of breaking up the whole flow. So and Meta is getting so good with their AI, I can make a advertisement and put my target audience in, and it just goes right out to them. So the return on ad spend was just so much greater, because I'm actually showing my stuff to people who want to see it. So that's kind of where, and it's kind of a scale. So the more you spend, the more leads you get. So if you don't want to fork out, hundreds of dollars a week to get tons of leads, you can kind of start and trickle however much money you want in there, and then Facebook will give you how many leads back. And it's really good at telling you if you're doing a good job or not, because there's some ads that just don't do anything, don't get any leads, and some ads that do really well. So that I
Well,
kind of leave
that's marketing, I
on.
suppose. If you've ever done any
Right,
amount of spending money on ads, you realize that some things work and some things don't, and that's just that
right.
game of, you know, finding the things that do work and then dialing it into that a little bit tighter and getting
Mhm.
rid of the stuff that's not working. And you
Exactly.
mentioned joining some groups and things like you getting kicked out by moderators or even by Facebook themselves. And that is a problem for I think a lot of marketers and stuff, and no matter
Mhm.
what industry they're in. But I do know for a fact there are ways to go about getting into those groups and talking to people in a certain manner that you're less likely to get punted, uh,
Mhm.
and that's just um, that's just I think a trick of being around and watching how things have shifted and changed within
Mhm.
those groups and the way Facebook kind of moderates things as well. And you do have to join the right groups, right? I mean, if you
Right.
go into the wrong group and start pressing real hard, obviously you're probably going to get kicked out. But there are ways of getting around it and talking to people to get them into a conversation, say directly in Messenger, so you're out of the group.
Mhm.
Um,
Right.
and I guess that would be for simplicity, getting them into a conversation about what they're there for, to talk about in that group in the first
Mhm.
place, right?
Mhm.
And then once you meet some people, you can move them over into Messenger and have direct conversations where you're not at risk of um, getting pulled. But I mean, then there's always those groups that they threaten if you pull someone into Messenger, you're out of here too. So hey, it's just the world we all kind of live
Right.
in,
Right.
right?
Yeah, so that's the main way I've been getting my stuff. The key is just, you know, there's both the boating community is big, but it's not so big, and then you're in a smallish community, and
Yeah.
then you're looking at a niche like again a niche within a niche of boaters that want to sell, and
Yeah,
then
sorry, my
and then
dogs.
all good.
So
So then
excited
like
there.
boaters that want to sell, and then boaters that want to sell in your area. So it's like by the time you kind of break it all down, your market becomes pretty small. And the key is to just is face to face really. It's knowing somebody who you
Yeah,
introduce you to or somebody in your same marina.
I
That's kind
can
of the
I can
biggest
fully
the biggest.
understand that for sure. Just the way that the industry just is in general.
Mhm.
It's kind of like you said earlier, building your network, and it's likely not as big as you think it is once you actually
Right.
start tapping into it. Do you ever utilize? Have you ever tried like Google Ads? Because someone who's say brand new, hey, I want to buy a boat. I've never bought one before. I've never even been to the marina, but yeah, I've got money
Mhm.
now and I want to get into it. So it's more of a search based lead, I guess. So have you ever tried
Mhm.
anything like that or?
I I haven't tried Google Ads. I stuck with Facebook just because I spend so much time and money investing into learning how to get good at that and show it to the target audience. And
Mhm.
again, as AI learned what I was trying to do really well. So when I just, I could just make a new visual and then put it to Facebook and it would just push it right out to the same people that were showing interest in my other ones. So it kind of learned my stuff so well, their algorithm was so good that I didn't really feel the need to try to start all over on Google.
Right.
And the other thing I learned after so much time on Facebook advertisements is, you can only sit behind a computer so long before you just have to bite the bullet and get out there and start walking into tackle shops and marinas
Right.
and introducing yourself to a ton of people, which is again the face-to-face connection that's invaluable because people
Yeah.
just I found that people are a lot more likely to refer you and talk to, their friends about you if you were supposed to face-to-face contact rather than just a messenger like, hey, I'm a new yacht broker in New Jersey.
Right.
If you know anybody that's looking to sell a boat, send them over to me. So when you get that warm kind of face-to-face connection, it just is a million times better than just what an ad can do. An ad's really good for just, putting it out to thousands of people, but out of the thousands of people, you might get three leads, and out of the three, one's qualified. So,
Definitely a numbers game, I think, no matter what path that you're taking, whether
mhm,
you're,
right.
cold emailing or Facebook or whatever, I think it is a numbers game. And
Mhm,
I agree with you. I think you're never really going to beat that face to face connection. And
mhm,
I mean, even over Zoom is still better than I think a text or a message or an
right.
email. Even just the fact that you can see someone's face, you can read their body language and have a conversation like a real human being. it definitely changes the dynamics for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So do you is there any other tools that you utilize? Have you tapped into any AI systems at all, or are you're kind of just with just kind of like you said, walking the streets and knocking on doors and trolling the Facebook groups, or
Right.
have you actually looked into utilizing so many other tools like AI of any kind?
I haven't utilized AI for prospecting. As far as I know, I mean, I'm sure there's a ton of people getting away at coding an AI bot to go out and find a whole list of boat owners in your area that you can, fire out a ton of emails to and see what happens. But for prospecting, not too much. Oh, an area that I would like to see. Well, I'm going to go on a little tangent here. I
Oh,
think that
go ahead. That's
Okay,
why we're
because
here.
I think you're going to find this interesting as well. I think that, as consumers, AI has changed a lot how we buy and how our expectations are that we buy, and the whole yacht brokerage industry hasn't been shifting as fast as consumers would like to see it. So, for example, you go on Amazon and search for, a dog toy, for example, and then now all of a sudden everything is showing you dog toys that it would think you would like, and if you wanted to buy it, it's at your door by like the same day, right? So everything moves very quickly, and it's shaping what you like and giving it to you. AI is kind of playing a role, and it's showing you boats that it would think you would like. But a lot of showings that I've had is people kind of showing a lot of, you know, disappointment in how a lot of brokers are handling them, and in a matter of just how fast they can get to a showing, for example, or the quality of the photos, or
Right.
as simple as maybe just taking 360 photos just so people can kind of spend time and roll around the whole boat and get a whole idea,
Right.
so they don't have to so the brokers don't have to get the text of, hey, do you have any pictures of the head, or do you have any pictures of the forward stateroom closet? Because there's just things that people want to see that a broker can't,
Yeah.
think of, right?
Yeah.
So there's things that I think that brokers should be doing, not even in AI, but just videos. A lot of something that we see a lot of success on. The brokers that are doing YouTube videos are having a lot of success. And again, that's something how they're getting more listings, because their name's just going out there showing the
Right.
boat, and they're getting a
Yeah,
lot
it's
of
just
that way.
and that is part of the shift in technology as well, as though even
Right.
though YouTube has been around for a long time, how long has it truly been utilized in a sales form, like a
Mhm.
broker showing off boats? And I know exactly what you're talking about, and
Mhm.
it
Right.
does make
And then
sense.
the other aspect of it is AI is also making, you know, I could meet somebody at the dock, and by the time we take the 50-yard walk from the parking lot to the dock, you could pull out your phone and you go to ChatGPT and say, give me all the known issues of this boat. But then it'll give you a list of however many you wanted before you get there, so that there's less, information asymmetry between the buyer and the seller, whereas everything becomes more transparent. And
Right.
to the boat make and model aspect, I mean, everybody treats their boat differently, but there's so much more information that people can get a hold of so much faster than we used to be able to, where we
Yeah.
would have
Right
to
at
just
your
go on and make a
fingertips.
quick Google search to go up through 10 articles. It gives it to us in 5 seconds. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it brings up a lot more questions that brokers have to be able to handle. And it's good and it's good for the buyers, because it makes them so much more knowledgeable before going into it.
Right.
And they can kind of fire away on ChatGPT and get you know overall answers, and then kind of hone in on whatever they want to do with the broker. So
So
that's
yeah, we were talking about this kind of before we started recording, and now we're on to it right now. Do you feel that someone younger like yourself is utilizing these tools a little bit more and more effectively potentially than somebody who is well established? They do have their
Mhm.
network and they do lean on that more. Someone who's been in the game for 25 years, they have that
Mhm.
network built up. Do you feel that maybe you have to attack things differently than that veteran has to kind of
Yeah.
or does and can move into the
Mhm.
marketing space?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, even just growing up watching YouTube videos of boat tours were just entertaining, but they're also a way for brokers to get their name out there and their listings out there.
Hmm.
So I mean, I haven't really started playing around with the whole YouTube thing, but I can see like 360 photos, for examples, are what could be really handy. Of like I said, people can just look wherever they want it to look, as opposed to just the basic, shot of a winch, shot of the companionway door, shot where it's
Right.
just, and then you're kind of saying come out to the boat to see more if you're really interested.
Right.
So AI is also giving us a lot of resources in writing listings descriptions in a lot more detail. So something I've been
Well,
kind of
and
planning to do.
automations as well, so that you get quicker responses to a potential
Right.
client
Mhm.
or buyer or seller. I mean, you guys, you're tapping into the sellers as well and selling boats for people as well. So I mean, the old adage in marketing is speed to lead, right? So I mean, AI is
Mhm.
definitely you set up automations to actually respond to people right now,
Right.
and you're more likely to actually make them a customer
Mhm.
when you can, they're not sitting there waiting, or if they're searching for a broker and you don't get to them right away. I can attest to this going for a real estate agent for the house I just bought. I
Mhm.
made 3 4 phone calls to various different real estate agents because I was going to make an offer on a house and it needed to happen like right now. And I went with the first one that got back to me. So I mean, it's kind of true. Speed to lead,
Yeah.
and AI is definitely helping to automate some things that allows you to take advantage of getting in touch with a person quicker. Um, and I mean, you can set some of these AIs up to basically answer a phone for you, and it sounds like you. So
Mhm.
it's
Yeah,
crazy
it's,
the way the
it's
world's
it's
going.
incredible. I mean, I've shown boats to people that expressed disappointment, and like, they were showing me boats and saying, I just couldn't get a hold of the broker. I don't even know if it's for sale anymore.
Right.
So
Yeah.
there's
I
just
mean, that's just what we're talking about, right? I mean,
right.
it,
So to go back to your point of for somebody younger versus somebody that's more, has that network and is more mature in their career, I think that people get, and I'm not speaking for all the brokers because there's some, amazing brokers that have been doing this for 10, 20 years that just are exceptional in everything that they do with between, answering the phone, showing boats and closing
Yeah,
deals.
sure. I mean, we're not going to
So I'm
paint
talking
the
about like
broad
the
brush
like
to
the small,
everybody, but
right,
I get what
exactly.
you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's, there's this, they get complacent, I think, where to the point where they have enough listings that leads are kind of coming in for the listings that they have, and they can kind of close a boat here, pick up a listing over here, and it moves slowly enough that they can, feel comfortable with what they're making. And sometimes I see a lot of sometimes the brokers are part-time yacht brokers, or they have a
Right.
full-time job in real estate or something. So they're kind of diverting all of their resources in a lot of different directions.
I
Where
do notice that of all the brokers that I've been kind of getting in touch with, there are a lot that are both in the real estate space as well as yacht
right.
brokerages. I mean, they're both
Yeah.
very similar kind of worlds, I suppose.
Mhm.
But like,
Right. Yeah. No,
there's
I always say, like, when people ask me what I do, and I say yacht broker, and they like give me a funny look, I'm just like, I'm just a real estate agent for boats. It's
right.
really you
Yeah.
find boats to sell, and you list them on
Yeah.
MLS, and you close them. So it's
Yeah.
pretty much the same thing. So I guess it transfers easy enough that people can kind of do both at the same time. And when one kind of falls, one picks up, and you can kind
Right.
of juggle them
So,
as you need to.
and speaking on that, and then, in your location where you are right now, I know it's going to change depending on where you are in the world. I spoke to somebody in British Virgin Islands, and dealing with brokerages and service and maintenance over there is completely different than what I assume is happening in the Jersey area. So,
Mhm.
in the area where you're in, what's the market been looking like? Obviously it's reasonably seasonal where you are. So,
Mhm.
how do you find the way things have been, at least in the last couple of years that you've been in this journey of yours?
So I got in at a funny time because it was right after COVID. So I'm sure everybody knows that like back in 2020, 2021, you could buy like a $80,000 boat, use it for the whole summer and sell it for like $90,000. And they're like just flying off the shelf like crazy because everybody decided that, we're all gonna like the outdoors again. So people
Wait,
were
here's a quick question: Is do you think that was because everybody's locked up and they felt if I'm going to be locked up, I might as well be out on my boat and enjoying life? Is that
right.
is that part of it at least anyway?
I think so, and there was also a lot of people that were boaters as kids, or their family had boats, so they kind of wanted to re-spark the interest that they had
Right.
when they were younger, and share it with their kids now. So they kind of thought, or it was just people that say, "Hey, I guess here's the time. It's just being handed to us. We can't work, or we have to work remotely. We've been talking about doing boat life for 10 years now, and there's no better time than now, right? We can't go into work anyway. So it
Yeah.
kind of forced a lot of people from a lot of different backgrounds into boating, and they were buying and buying and buying, and then, like I said, they were selling them, not losing too much money, but then eventually it hits a point where that bad kind of wears out. And I think over the past couple of years, we've been seeing the sell-off of all the COVID boats, which is kind of interesting. And the buyers' expectations are kind of still back in that 2020, 2021 kind of era where, they bought the boat for say $100,000, but now that boat's only worth 70. It's kind of a shock to them because people were financing boats to kind of get out on the water to not miss the opportunity. So there's a lot of different kind of buyers or sellers coming in back from that era.
More of a buyer's market at the moment than right now, where it was
yeah, I would say so, absolutely. Yeah.
it was a seller's market just after COVID, and now it's just kind of shifted. It's maybe resetting back to where it probably should be because of that disruption.
Yeah, and and one of the brokers I work really close with, he kind of taught me that there's always going to be, many mini kind of spikes throughout the season too. So back in say August or maybe even June, kind of bow riders and deck boats would be really popular because they're more family oriented. So they were getting bought up. But now when people go to sell in September and October, kids go back to school, and then when you try to sell them to more other different families, then they kind of fall off. But then at the same time, when they kind of start going down, the center consoles and the fishing boats kind of start going up because you have fall fishing. So there's always kind of many kind of markets within the overall market. So
right, and you're kind of closer to more of a fishing based location.
Yeah, most of New Jersey is a lot of fishing. So
right,
you kind of you can kind of ride that all the way into November, even kind of late November, early December is before people start hauling out. But if you really want to stretch your season, but people are buying and selling all winter, so there's always somebody to buy when you're listings.
Well, and you've been making a living from it at least, anyways, and you're getting better at it. You find your sales are becoming more and more, and you're doing better as you get into this a little bit further.
Yeah, absolutely. Before you're kind of figuring out pricing strategies, and you're running like price comps based on recent sales and active listings, and you're kind of figuring out where you want to be positioned based on them kind of numbers. So, and before I was kind of pricing maybe too high and my listings were sitting too long, so then you kind of move lower, but then you're not getting the most you could get out of the boat, so you're kind of leaving some things on the table for the seller. So now I'm kind of like just dialed into the point where you can kind of figure out, based on these numbers of recent sold data and active listing data, that for this type of boat in this time of year that we should list it at this price. Because if you don't, then the market just won't buy. I mean, it's really cool in that sense that the market will just tell you nope, and then you'll get like almost zero leads and then as soon as you kind of adjust the price or the time of year changes and you kind of hit that perfect balance, then people start scheduling showings and you can kind of start moving on it. So I mean, it takes a while to just learn that whole process, but now I'm finally at that point where I have kind of that dialed in.
Cool. So what would you say? Well, I got a couple more questions, then we'll start just to wrap it up here. But first one here is, what would you say is probably your biggest challenge since you've come into this industry?
So biggest challenge would probably be just getting people to trust me, just because obviously I'm just more of a younger person, and I'm not the typical yacht broker kind of look. When I walk into a marina, it's kind of more of a shock, but I kind of learned to kind of flip that into, I'm younger, so I know the technology. I can play the social media role. I can play the technology role and market it better than a lot of people. So that's probably one of my biggest ones, and just battling with the personal networks. There's just some people I've talked to that I have a great relationship with that I just know from boating. When I first became a broker, I asked them if they had one that they use, and he said, yeah, I've been using the same broker for the past 3 boats. And I asked him why, and he's like, I just like them, right? I just trust them. We've done business together for the last 2. So getting people to kind of break away from that mold and get to trust you is kind of it has been a big challenge for me.
Well, that's like asking somebody to shift dentists or doctors, I guess.
Right. Yeah. So when people have a good relationship with them and they've had and they sold their boats quickly in the past, and they've
Right.
gotten good deals on the boats they have now. It's why change?
Right.
So kind of honing in,
Well, but I
what
mean, you
you're.
also have to realize that, I mean, there is the older generation that, I mean, they're going to move on, retire, pass away, whatever. And
Mhm,
the people that are still buying boats are still around, and
exactly.
you just got to keep working and building your network. I guess it's just part
Mhm,
of that game. So my last question, and it's just a fun one here. You've obviously been you've said at the beginning here, you traveled around as a kid on a boat. Of all the places you've been,
mhm.
what's your favorite, and you can answer both. Uh,
Okay.
do you have a favorite vessel that you've spent some time on, and maybe you can answer both of those questions and let me know.
Mhm. So places I've traveled by boat or just.
Yeah, well, that's what I was leaning towards. But
Okay,
if there's
cool.
another place that you've been to that wasn't on a boat, I'm happy to hear it too.
Mhm. So by boat, it would probably be Block Island, Rhode Island. It's like a little tiny 10 by 10 block, literally, it's called Block Island, off of Montauk. So where we're at in Raritan Bay, it's like New York Harbor, but you could kind of make a loop all the way around Long Island Sound. So you spend like a full 24 hours to get to Block Island, and then it feels like you're kind of in a different country just because there's not many full-time residents there in general, and it's just mostly all
Right.
boaters. So it's like a really cool, unique environment that is just kind of left untouched for the most part. And if you're there, you got there by boat. So that's probably my coolest, my favorite place to go, just because I think I've done it like 4 or 5 times now, and it's something that just doesn't get old. Um, and for the second question, my favorite boat I've ever is a tough one, just because you get to experience so many of them. Um, but my favorite boat, probably the one that my family owns now, it's a 1985 Vokier Praetorian, 35 foot. So I mean, it's something that not many people know, but people who do know kind of really enjoy it. It's more of a cult followed boat. Um, for any of the sailors listening to this, I'm sure you probably heard of the boat, or not the boat, the book, How to Sail Around the World by Hal Roth. It's the same boat that he used when he wrote that book. So it's like
Cool.
kind of a really cool, um, unique boat that not many people know of, but super well built. And that's kind of where I kind of got my stride in sailing, because like I switched when I was like 16. So that's the boat I kind of finally started to go out by myself on, and spend a lot of time solo sailing around in. So it's kind of the one that taught me the most lessons. So that's
That's
my,
cool.
my
Well,
favorite.
that's a solid answer, man. That's a really cool answer. I appreciate that.
So it
Well,
has to be the one that just taught me the most about just being out on the water. It's given me a lot of good memories. So
right.
that'd be
Awesome.
the one.
Well, Todd, it's been awesome talking to you. I really appreciate your insights in the short time you have been in the industry. But I mean, I'm here to talk to everybody, not just the people that have been around for forever. And I think you have something valuable to share with either new guys coming in that are looking to become brokers themselves. Or maybe somebody was struggling to find a new way to find new leads or get customers. So thank you again for joining me here, and um, yeah, that's it. I guess we'll I'll let you go, and hope you have a great day. And we talked about this. You're not going to be able to make it to the Fort Lauderdale International Boat Show, but
Mhm.
we all kind of wish we could go wander around that place a little bit.
Right. Yeah, no, you can spend a lot of time there.
Right
A ton
on.
of fun,
Okay.
but not cool
Well, thank you very much, Todd, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Cool, man. You too. Thanks for having me.
All right.
Thanks for sailing with us. This has been Portside Perspectives.